Life is hard, but what makes it even harder is that our minds invariably focus on the negatives rather than the positives. The sad part is, we often can't help it. It's part of human design. Naturally, as hunter-gatherers, we needed to pay special attention to dangerous situations in life, lest we became food for a wild tiger nearby. This is called the negativity bias, and it states that things of a more negative nature have a greater effect on one's psychological state and processes than neutral or positive things, even when of equal intensity. Researchers at Harvard University found this to be true through an interesting experiment. They asked participants to identify blue dots from a series of 1,000 dots ranging in color from blue to purple. These dots would flash on the screen one after the other. Initially, participants identified the colors pretty accurately. At this time, roughly half the dots were blue and half were purple. As time went on, however, the researchers started showing fewer blue dots. Strangely, the participants reacted by identifying a greater number of blue dots than were actually present. As the number of blue dots decreased, the participants started identifying dots as blue, when, in reality, they were a shade of purple. It's as if the participants were trained to see and expect a certain number of blue dots, and even when they were not shown, the participants expanded their definition of blue to include shades of purple. Okay, enough with the blue dots. Now comes the interesting part. In further experiments, the researchers found the same effect when participants had to identify aggressive faces from a group that ranged from very threatening to not very threatening, and again when separating unethical research proposals from ethical ones. Even though the occurrence of problems went down, participants began to misread friendly and neutral faces as threatening and ethical proposals as fraudulent. This came to be termed as the blue dot effect, which suggests that our mind is conditioned to look for threats and issues, regardless of how safe our environment is. This means you could be sitting on a vacation in your dream city, but still find yourself focusing on the negative aspects of the journey. The better things get, the more we nitpick on even the smallest of issues. This is evident in the fact that we live more comfortable lives than ever before, but our satisfaction levels somehow don't improve. While this is how our brain is wired, there's definitely some good news. We can change this. Cultivating a positivity bias is just like any other habit. Similar to learning the guitar or a dance routine, you will learn with repetition. To cultivate a positivity bias, first experience the positive. The brain learns by repetition. In order to continuously identify the positives in your life, you first need to experience these positives consistently, on a daily basis. This implies you need to have moments of calm, peace, happiness, and joy in your life, so you can eventually make them your default state. As you learn to engage in these states of consciousness deliberately, the brain will form new neural connections to turn this into a habit. New connections in your brain are being formed at every moment. The more you focus on the negative, the more your brain will be trained to focus on the negative. The more you focus on the positive, the more your brain will learn to find positivity. Most people, however, don't have the level of awareness this practice requires. They're running frantically from one thing to the next without even being aware of their own biases. To cultivate this awareness, I would highly recommend some sort of mindfulness training. It can be meditation, mindful walking, or anything else that grounds you in the present moment. All the positive emotions that we talked about exist abundantly in the present moment, but bringing the mind to the present moment is a challenging task. That's what mindfulness helps you with. As you come back to the present moment, you will start to experience those positive feelings inside you. Your task from there on will be to simply extend those feelings and states of consciousness to cover as much of your life as possible. The HEAL framework to take in the good. Psychologist Rick Hanson writes in his book, Hardwiring Happiness, about the feelings of contentment and connection, with centers in the midbrain and prefrontal cortex, are easily overwhelmed by physical survival patterns that inspire negative thinking. To overcome this bias, Hanson argues that we need regular doses of positive thoughts. Thus, he suggests practicing the HEAL method, based on positive neuroplasticity. Let's look at the different components of the practice. Have a positive experience. The first step is to notice a positive experience that you're already having. If not, then try to create one by looking for the good things in the current situation. Try it now. Think of a time when you were content, happy, and satisfied with what was going around. That's your positive experience. Hopefully, this shouldn't take more than a few seconds. With practice, this process will become much easier. Enrich it. The second step is to enrich the positive experience by staying with it. Notice the sensations and the imagery associated with that great experience. Embody it to make it real and intense in the present moment. Think about how it made you feel. What else are you able to notice about that experience? Go in as much detail as possible. Stick with your positive thought with a broad, open body, mind, and spirit. Absorb it. After you enrich the experience, let it percolate into the depths of your heart. Take it in a way that really seeps into you. Since positive thoughts are often so short-lived in our brains, we need to make them stick for a longer time. Create a sort of mental snapshot of that experience and store it in memory. The deeper you go in this step, the easier it will be to remember it again the next time. Link the positive and the negative. Once you've skillfully learned to take in the positive experience, it's time to find a negative experience in your life and rewire it. This is important because, let's face it, life isn't going to give you as many positive experiences as you'd like. Initially, try not to pick something too hard for this step. Pick a mildly negative experience. For instance, someone talking rudely to you. Now let both the positive and the negative experiences mingle a bit in your head. Think of the positive one, but keep the negative one at the back of your mind. Hansen says, "What goes together grows together." This means that when you face that particular negative experience again, the positive experience will automatically come to mind, making it easier to deal with the negative. The even though technique. Even though is just a reframing technique to put your negative experiences into context and finding the good things in everything. It includes making a statement that starts with even though to reframe negative experiences into positive. For example, even though I scored badly on my exam, it's not the end. I have other opportunities and I'm okay. I'm doing other things that I feel inspired by and can take on other options to build a career. Even though my grandmother passed away, she loved me a lot and taught me invaluable lessons. I can draw on her love whenever I want. Even though I failed in this business, I scaled it to a certain level, met many interesting people, and learned a lot about entrepreneurship. I can use them for my next project. This is a simple technique that you can use to acknowledge what happened, yet take in the good without beating yourself up. All of these techniques rest on one simple principle. What you focus on grows. Our minds may be biologically built to focus on the negative. We can retrain them to do the opposite. The good news is you can control your experiences of life just by changing what you focus on, and you have more power over this than you believe. So start taking in the good right now.